Algebra II Honors Cram Study Guide, Exam 1, Flashcard 7, Determine modifications to a polynomial function. Given the function f of x equals 5 times 1/4 x plus 2 squared minus 7, identify a, b, c, and d values and describe the effect on its graph from the parent graph f of x equals x squared. So this is the original function, and here we have 4 different modifications. The 5, the 1/4, plus 2, and minus 7. So traveling from left to right, we're going to describe what each modification does to the parent graph x squared, okay? All right, so first, you'll want to note that this function is written in this form, and this is a special form called vertex form because the vertex is denoted by HK, okay? But the original vertex prior to modification was just at the origin or 0, 0. So the first modification that we're going to discuss is multiplying x squared, the parent function, by 5, okay? But before that, let's just say what each modification does. So subtracting a number, a constant, from x, or adding will create a horizontal shift either to the left or the right. Adding or even a positive or a negative constant outside of x squared will create a vertical shift up or down. And, okay, the coefficient a, multiplying by that, will either make the parabola skinnier if a is greater than 1. And this is kind of counterintuitive because you would assume that multiplying by a number greater than 1 made the parabola wider, but actually it's the reverse case. The parabola becomes wider if a is actually between 1 and 0. So if it's a fraction or a decimal between 1 and 0. And a opens up. It's an upward parabola or concave up parabola if a is positive, and it's concave down, or it opens down if a is negative, okay? So let's now get into the modifications. So back to 5, multiplying 5 times x squared is going to create a vertical stretch, okay? Or it's going to make the parabola skinnier. So it's going to stretch it out, all right? So now as for b, we see that b is like another coefficient 1/4, but let's just make this a whole number. So we're going to, actually no, we're not going to make it a whole number. It's going to create a horizontal stretch, meaning it's making x squared wider. But in order to get a better idea of what's happening with this 2 here, we're going to make it a whole number and multiply 1/4 x times 4 in the numerator. So that means we also have to distribute a 4 to the 2. And if we're multiplying by 2 within the parentheses, if we're multiplying by 4 within the parentheses, that means we have to divide by 16 outside of the parentheses because 4 squared is going to be 16. So we can transform this to 5/16 4x plus 8, okay? And adding 8 will create, well, actually what you're doing is you're subtracting a -8 because remember this is vertex form. It's going to create a shift 8 units to the left, not to the right, okay? When most people see this, they assume that the shift is going to be to the right because it's positive. No, it's to the left because remember, what we're doing is we're subtracting a -2 as opposed to just simply adding, okay? That's how you have to view it. And the last modification is -7. So what do you think this is going to do? Well, it's going to create a vertical shift 7 units down, okay? Because if you refer to vertex form, a positive k or positive constant will create a shift upward. But since we're adding a negative constant, it's going to create a vertical shift downward. So just do a couple of these problems to get a feel for the different transformations and translations, because that's what they are. And we didn't really have to change the 2 into an 8, but we kind of did anyway. Okay? All right.